come from a middle-class, non-business family where entrepreneurship was considered as a sin. And the very reason in my school, I went to a school called Air Force School, and I used to have some friends who were from wealthy families then, who could afford to buy a computer. So my father was a defense scientist, and his paycheck wouldn't allow him to buy me a computer. So it's when I took it up as a challenge, because I had all these friends who had computers and who used to exchange game CDs. And the fact that I didn't have a computer, I used to feel odd man out amongst my friend circle. And it's when I thought that I should do something on my own. And unfortunately, around the corner was my birthday. So I had my elder brother who was in his engineering, and he used to get more pocket money by which he could afford to go to an internet cafe then, or cyber cafe. And the fact that we all have internet on our phones today, you may not see this internet shops or cyber cafe, but then access to a cyber cafe was an absolute luxury for us. And of course, my brother had this privilege to go to a cyber cafe, and as a gift on my birthday, he took me to the cyber cafe center, and he made me sign up for an email account. And it was my first email address ever in my life. I was very excited, and I went back to my school again, and I wanted to show off to my friends that I had an email account. So on the blackboard, I actually wrote my email address with its password. And all my friends started to laugh at me because I'm not supposed to share my password. And it's when of course, the irony today is, as a company, we are one of the largest cyber security and cyber defense companies today. And I was the same guy who shared the password on my blackboard. So I went to the cyber cafe owner again, and I requested him that when he goes for his lunch, is there a way that I could operate the shop after my school? And I had to lie to my mother that I've joined NCC in my school, because with the only intent that I'll be coming home late and I could still access to the cyber cafe. So so it was my best deal in my life with the cyber cafe owner called Shubdev, where I used to go to the cyber cafe every day after my school. And I started to learn programming, and I started to learn how to build websites. And I used to sell my freelance services to these American companies as a freelancer who could build websites for them. And I think game changer was when one of the companies asked me to share my CV. And I innocently had prepared my CV, and I'd also put my age as like 13 years. And this company laughed at me, saying that you're still 13 and I don't think you would even have a mustache. So we feel insecure to work with school kids. I think it's exactly when I realized that there is a prejudice as far as my age was concerned, and it was very important for me to focus on building the company and to close the sale. So it's when I told to myself that I will never ever prepare a CV of myself, but I would want to be an entrepreneur so that I can start receiving CVs from others. And I was 14 by then, and I wanted to start a company. So the cyber cafe owner called Shubdev, he was very supportive. So he told me that if you need any help to start a company in the US, he was happy to help me. And I started my company in the US. And I was still sitting in India, and I never ever sent a CV again. So I started to send my own the company's presentation and the website link of our company, so that all these companies who used to have a prejudice telling that he's such a young guy, when I started to send them emails saying that I'm a CEO of a company and I would like to help them to build their websites, I think that was a game changer for them, because it was a game changer for us, because all these companies took me very seriously, and they could never ask for the CEO's age or his education qualification, because it became the identity when I had a company to front end me, and it's how I started my company. And my parents did not know that I had started a company. So, like, of course, when this video was made, earlier to this, there was one more BBC video and CBS video that was made, and when they visited to my house to take my interview, it is the first time my mother got to know that I was running a company in the US, and she never knew that I started a company. And her first reaction was, have you done anything bad on the internet by which the FBI has come home? And I had to tell my mom that, in fact, they've come to take my interview, uh, and especially when you come from a middle-class South Indian family, there is a lot of resistance because with entrepreneurship, it can affect your career. And for middle-class families, I think the success point was when you get employed. And in my family, I think, and especially with my mother, I think she wanted me to focus much on the academics. And it's not that I would like to advise you to say that you can drop out and start companies, but of course, the only message is that if you could charge the fire in your belly and could identify your passion, you could actually do anything that you'd want. So I do not know if you saw that video on the BBC. I was sitting in my 10th standard and I actually wrote our company's business plan exactly when in 5 years how should the company be, when we are 10 years how should the company should have expanded. And when I was in my 10th standard in my mathematics class, I wrote that the company should have operations in about 14 countries. And I'm a believer, as Walt Disney always tells, that everything happens twice, once in your mind and of course once when you actually do it, or when it happens in actually reality. And I'm a very strong believer in such manifestation. And yeah, it's exactly what which we did as a company, where we wrote organization chart. We started to add blocks of vice presidents or of the number of employees that we need to have it. In spite we did not have it, so that I wanted to believe that I can manifest this. And it was exactly the same thing. I started to write all the countries' name in those places where we want our company's operations to be in. And it's exactly those operations is where I think background of the mind, I used to ask my management to start focusing on it. And I would like to share a very important incident of my life. And I think with the 20th anniversary of Disha Bharat, it's very apt. When I was in my 10th standard, I scored very bad in my mathematics paper. So it was a preparatory exam. And as you know, when you're all been through 10th or SSLC, you know the pressure that we all get from our own home, from your neighbors, from your extended aunts and uncles. And it was the same thing for me. And I'd failed in my preparatory exam in my mathematics. And my school was shocked. My class teacher and my head teacher was shocked. And my mother gets a call from a teacher saying that you need to attend this parent-teachers meeting without fail, because actually your son has failed in his preparatory exam and I want you to meet. I was an above average student, and I think my brother was, I think he was over average. He was like the blue-eyed boy. He was a first bencher, and he went to IIM. So if the school till date celebrates his achievements by having his photograph outside the principal's room. And when my mother was called to the school and the parent-teachers meeting, so my teacher looks at my marks card and she tells my mother that your second son is horrible compared to your first son because he's failed in a subject, and I have no clue what he does, but he's not completing his assignments. And if it is a pace that he's working on, I don't think he'll be able to pass the 10th exam. And my mother was very scared. So she told me that, okay, fine, I'll speak to Suhas. And my mother looks at the teacher and she tells that it's not the mistake of my son alone, it's also the mistake of the school, because you're forcing him to attend all kind of NCC classes. And my teacher looks at me and she tells that I don't think he even has an NCC uniform. And I have no clue what he is doing after the school, but he should focus on studies. And it's when my mother got to know that I was going to an internet shop. And it was a time when internet was very new, and my mother was reading all kind of women magazines and or parenting magazines, in where in fact she was very afraid if her son was actually using internet for consuming wrong content. And it's when actually my mother took me to the house and she told that I want you to swear on me and I want you to promise me that you'll not go to the internet cafe until your exams are over. I know that you like to program, you like to code, you like to build a company, but it's not the age for doing this. and I want you to focus on your studies, and I want you to swear on me. And it's when I told my mother that the world's richest man, then Bill Gates, had not completed his education, so why do you force me to complete mine? And my mother's response in Kannada was, "Aun jaat ka bere, nin jaat ka bere." So, and he's in the US, you are in India, and you need to focus on studies. And it's exactly where I thought to myself that it's not your jatka or your horoscope that's going to define your destiny. And the second most important is, it's not that it was a peak when India used to have the brain drain where all graduates, or the most of the engineering graduates from the premier or the Ivy League institutions from India used to go to the US. And I've got many cousins in the US who used to take the pride that they were in the US. So it's where I told to myself that I want to build this company while I'm in India, and at no point of time in my life I would want to change my passport color. And I think, yeah. So, yeah, so it's exactly where I made sure to complete my PUC in India, and interestingly, I was the CEO of an American company which happened to be in the US, in Delaware, which I had started because Indian laws wouldn't allow you to start if you're under 18. And I was building the company, and my mother and my dad actually thought that I was doing some kind of freelancing work, but it's only when this BBC video came, they got to know that I was doing some serious business, and the company had grown internationally. So, I think the most important is to have that fire in the belly. And I still remember when I was invited to the World Bank. I joined the World Bank's ICT Advisory Council when I was 19, and I was still in my engineering. So I think it's probably the first and the last time I think World Bank would have written such a letter to the HOD of my of computer science at MS Ramaya College, because that's where I was studying engineering. Because I had to ask the World Bank president to write a letter to my HOD because he has to exempt or he has to oblige my absence when I was not attending my classes. So and the World Bank president staff officer told that in the history of World Bank they've never written such a letter to any universities, because one of their advisor was attending the classes. I mean, was exempted to attend from the classes. But in spite of the letter from the World Bank, I had shortage of attendance, and I unfortunately had to drop out from my engineering because company had grown. And it was also kind of very awkward to me because my HR manager used to meet me in my lunch break in my classes. And the irony was my company used to recruit from my own college. And of course, my seniors were extremely very friendly to me because their future boss was their junior. And I had to take a dropout, but then I had to complete my fellowship from the Harvard Kennedy School at the Harvard University, of course, as a special case. But I had to become a dropout, not because of anything else, but only because of the fact that the company had grown, and it was very difficult for me to manage the classes and the studies. If I had to choose back, maybe I would not have become a dropout. I would have completed my engineering, and maybe I would have hired somebody as a CEO. So, of course, with that, I went back to my mother to tell that I unfortunately would not be able to complete my engineering because I had attendance shortage, but the company has grown extremely very big, and we are starting our Indian operations. And my mother's first response was, so I mean, if you are a dropout, you don't have education. As entrepreneurs, you don't have salaries, and you don't have fixed working time, your marriageability index will fall down, and it's very difficult for you to get married. And I think it was a fair argument from my mother, but I had to tell her that I think building something out of passion, and I had to tell her that I was married with this idea of starting a company and to building it. And as Swami Vivekananda tells, when you've got an idea and if you believe it, I think every part of your organ, muscle, or your tissues have to believe in that idea. And I think I think it is a power that you need to radiate. And I think for me, I've been a strong believer of that, and having that fire in the belly. If you got that fire in your belly, I think you can actually do anything. So with me, I started the company with 15 rupees pocket money, and it's today, as a company, we are a multi-million-dollar company operating across the world. And I was the same guy, had no computers. So I could have easily stayed back at home saying that my father is not rich, he cannot buy me a computer, so I will complete my engineering and I'll take up a job with Infosys or Wipro. I'm not saying it's bad, but if you had a strong idea and if you wanted to do it, I don't think you can have no reason except yourself. So, and in my life, I thought and when I was humiliated that I was too young to be a freelancer, I told to myself that I'll not prepare a CV of mine, and I do not want to share my CV to anyone else, but I want to be on the other side where I can start receiving CVs from people whom I could employ them or who could offer jobs. So with that, I would want to share one very last experience. When I happened to meet Bill Gates. So it was at the World Economic Forum, and I think I was probably 21, I guess, when I had to meet Bill Gates. Of course, Bill Gates' team never gave me appointment, so I knew that of course, he was speaking in a session like this. And it was in Switzerland, it was in Davos, where the outside temperature was like -5 degrees. I went to the AC control of the auditorium, so I further reduced the AC temperature so that it's more cooler. So I knew that Bill Gates session will last at least for 45 minutes. And the possible thing somebody has to do if the room is very cool, extremely very cold, and the outside temperature is also very cold, is that in all probability he must use washroom. And I was already waiting in the public washroom, and I was hoping Bill Gates should come, and to my luck, Bill Gates was there. And it was the first time I spoke to Bill Gates in the washroom, where I told him that he's my inspiration, and his team has never given me appointment or has not acknowledged my meals. So I'm so happy to meet you. And Bill Gates told, I've heard of elevator pitches, but I've never heard of pitching in the washroom. And he spent out 15 minutes outside. So he took me out, we had a coffee, and of course we spoke from Microsoft to his foundation. So, but one extremely powerful message he shared, and I would like to end my talk with this. He told me this thing is that the past is a thief. If you allow it, it will steal your future and the present. It was extremely powerful, and I think it is a message that I actually wake up to every day. So, so all the students and the beneficiaries of Disha Bharat, always remember that the past is a thief. If you allow it, it will steal your future and the present. So it's very, very important to take those learnings of your past, but it's also important that you don't stuck with the past. So it could be a bad score. You may have had a personal incident, or you've not got the job. You've had a bad exam. So, but all that is the past. So unfortunately, we don't have a rewind button where we can't go and fix it. So, but it's very important that you do not allow your past to steal your future and the present. So, and of course, the last message, I think the message comes from my mother. Unfortunately, I lost her like 2 years back, but especially for all the women students over here. In fact, my mother's mother, as in my grandmother used to tell my mother that I will not teach you cooking because if you study well and if you build a career for yourself, you will be in a position to hire a cook. And when my mother retired, in fact, she retired as a head accountant of Shankar Narayan Constructions, which is one of the large construction groups. So, and when my mother got married, she never knew cooking. So with that message, of course, the only thing I would want to tell to the women audience here is that it's very important to focus across your career, entrepreneurship. And my mother was a strong believer that especially women in the country can do anything, because the fact that when they can run the homes in India, they can absolutely run country, they can actually run companies. And yeah, so always have the confidence, and the most important is always have that infectious positive energy. And I think the fact that you got to interact with Rekha ma'am, I think with ma'am, I think she's blessed to keep radiating that infectious positive energy, and even if you've got a bad day, I think if you speak to her, I think she's got the power to charge you up. And I think the fact that you've all been beneficiaries of a Disha Bharat, I would want you to pursue that, and it shouldn't end here. So, but have those learnings, and you should you hold it to yourself. And the most important is, I think Disha Bharat has managed to ignite that fire in your belly, and I hope you can hold on to that fire always. So that, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We are truly fortunate to hear from someone who has turned dreams into reality. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr.Suhas Gopinath, he is 38-year-old and having his business in 12 different countries across the globe. And he is the only Indian representing the World Bank for the cybersecurity of the world. You know, he is the Indian representative. So at a very young age, as you all have seen, he is really dare to dream. You saw that in the morning, dare to dream. Creating your own destiny is what Suhas has done. He's done it in his life. I think he's a great inspiration to all of you. Is there any one question anybody would like to ask Suhas as to at 14, how did you become a CEO? If anybody wants to ask him some question on those lines, one question is just allowed immediately, just one. We don't have time, one question. In fact, he was prepared for many more questions as we are running short of time. If anybody wants to ask, you're free to ask one question. Any question here? Yeah. Yes, sir.
Sure.
I think they need a mic. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think as a famous saying goes that you need to use thorn to remove a thorn. So I think you need to use AI to defend these deep fakes or also all. And I was also seeing certain voiceovers where it mimicking of individuals or celebrities. So I think the best way is if you can start using AI for information warfare and also for deep fakes and misinformation. And it's exactly what Indian government is doing today. So all these fake videos that is coming up in social media and the fake news that is coming up, the Indian government is already adopting AI to defend these kind of misinformation and disinformation.
Thank you, sir. Sir, the internet is filled with different types of tools. Like Humanizer is the one AI. We use AI content and put it in the Humanizer. It will change. If it doesn't show it has AI content, then what would be the other alternate for that? Detecting AI.
So I'm sorry, it was sort of beeping. Could you mind repeating the question, please?
Sir, you said to vanish that deepfakes AI, we use another AI. If we alter a little thing, it will be considered as a human thing, no, sir? Have you used that humanizer AI?
I understood. So I think AI is smart enough to understand that if the origin of the image itself is produced by an AI and if it's improved by the human or not. So I think in your case, you are telling that if the actual image, the foundation image is from AI and if there's a human touch to it.
Yes, sir.
And according to you, in fact, you're thinking AI is going to tag it as a human-generated image?
A little bit of humanize is there, no, sir?
No. I think at least the AI models, what I have seen, at least 80% to 90% of the content of that image is actually generated by AI. It's going to tag it as AI itself. So
Alter a little bit, sir. Adding watermark and just editing the filter something.
yeah, I think if there is a larger data sets of these fake images where it is improved by human, I think we need to keep feeding the AI with these data sets of these fake images or these AI generated images so that AI can understand that all these are AI images, all these are the images which is improved by AI or which is improved by human.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sure.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Dr. Hemant, sir, to give a small token of gratitude to Mr. Suhas Gopinath, sir. Thank you, sir. Now it's the time that most of you have been waiting for. Now I request